Hey everybody, this is Phil from Alabama Hot Sauce. I'm back in the kitchen with you today. We've been fermenting peppers, and I've been fermenting peppers for months and months and months. I've been making a lot of sauce, but today we're going to take a ferment and we're going to turn it into a wonderful hot sauce. Now, what I've got here is I've got a jar that contains jalapeno slices, carrots, pineapples, peach juice, just a very little bit of peach juice, black peppercorns, and a little bit of white pepper. So I don't have a clue how this is going to turn out, but we're getting ready to see. What we're going to do is we're going to blend this up. I'm going to taste it. I'm going to make whatever additions are necessary. You can see right here I've got all my spices out. I've got xanthan gum out. I've got all my bottles here. So another thing I want to talk to you about. Jalapenos, as we all know, have a history of sometimes being quite mild and sometimes being ridiculously hot. I've got one jalapeno out here. I brought out of a bag I'm processing next week. And I want to show it to you because this jalapeno is absolutely beautiful. Does not have a single flaw on it. I can look at this jalapeno and tell it was grown in a greenhouse. Now, jalapeno peppers that are completely flawless like this, believe it or not, tend to be quite mild. As a matter of fact, they tend to be in the 2,000 to 3,000 Scoville heat unit area. I know you've all seen this with jalapenos, but sometimes you see a jalapeno that has these bright white lines down it, zigzaggedy lines. As a matter of fact, it looks like it's a bad jalapeno, but that's called corking. And on a jalapeno, corking occurs when the pepper is stressed. And even though the food scientists are not positive why, they know that stress, as indicated by the presence of corking, makes the jalapenos hot. So, I will tell you that this jar that I've got here, full of chipped up jalapenos, these peppers were extremely corked. There was not a single one that had more than a distance of a ½ inch anywhere on the skin that didn't have the white lines. So I anticipate this particular mixture to be quite hot. I will bet you that these jalapenos are in the range of 8,000 to 10,000 Scoville units. As a matter of fact, I tasted one yesterday from another batch, started the same day, came from the same lot, and it was really, really, really hot. So I think what we're going to have today, when I look at the ingredients in this, we're going to have a pretty sweet and a pretty hot pepper sauce. First thing we're going to do, I'm going to drain, I'm going to open up this jar of pepper sauce, and I'm going to drain the vast majority of this juice out of this sauce. Now, there's something else I'll tell you about this particular jar. This is vacuum fermented. You've seen me do it in some other videos if you've watched them. What's done a little different in this one, typically I vacuum the air out of the headspace. I let the fermentation process produce the carbon dioxide, fill up the headspace, which basically eliminates the vacuum and builds up a positive pressure, and then that pressure exhausts out the valve when necessary. In this particular ferment, since it was put up 102 days ago, I've come to it and I've drawn all with carbon dioxide after a couple of days out of it. So this particular ferment has constantly been under a vacuum. As a matter of fact, I bet you when we open it, if we're real quiet, we'll hear it. So let's see what we got here. Oh, I heard it. And I'm going to pour out the brine out of this jar. Now I got my pH tester. We're going to come in here and see what the pH is of this brine. All right, we've got a pH of 3.2, which is absolutely fabulous. I thought it would be pretty high because the sugar in this pineapple gave that lactobacillus a lot of fuel. So this ferment worked really, really hard for far more days than it would have if we hadn't put the pineapple in there. So that's a wonderful pH. A pH like that, this stuff is absolutely, completely safe. Nothing can grow in a pH of 3.2. Now, I'm going to set this aside because we're going to use some of this in the mixing of this sauce. Remove the top. And we're going to begin to put some of this fermented pepper in here. Oh, this looks so good. There's the carrots coming out. Now we got pineapple coming out. I'm so tempted just to taste this, but I can't do that. Now this is going to be a little bit loud. We're going to process this up a little bit. To make sure that I'm tasting consistent every time, I'm just going to take this spoon with the concave part facing down. I'm going to stick it down in this pepper sauce and bring it out. And I'm going to taste whatever's on that spoon. Oh, just what I thought. This is pretty hot. This stuff is really hot. That's great. I can tell it needs a little bit of black pepper. I think it needs a little bit of salt. And I think it probably needs a little bit of cumin. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get these things. Now remember, we're totally guessing here at this point. What I'm going to do is first, I'm going to put in about get my measuring right here. That's about 6 grams of mustard powder. Now, I'm going to put in here about 6 grams of ginger. Now remember folks, I'm completely guessing here. I'm going by taste, by what I remember, what it takes to change sauces. And I'm going to write all this down because I want to be able to repeat this if it's good. That's a little bit of paprika. And I'm going to put some cayenne pepper. Even though this is already really hot, I want to give it a little upfront punch. And nothing does that better than powdered cayenne pepper. There we go. Now. Now we're going to go back to the brine, 225 milliliters. All right, here we go again, blending. Now, I'm going to get another spoon, and I'm going to go in and taste again. Perfect. What this has is the first thing that hits you is that sour taste. Then you get the sweet. Then in the middle of your tongue, you get the hot. And I will tell you, this is hotter than 2,000 or 3,000 Scoville units. These were very, very hot peppers. I can taste the pineapple in there. This time when we turn the blender on, we're going to do something pretty unique. This blender turns at about 30,000 RPMs. And it has fairly blunt blades made for pulverizing anything you put in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this on and I'm going to run it for 8 or 9 minutes on the highest speed. When I do that, it's going to raise the temperature of this sauce up to about 190 or 195 degrees. Our pasteurization temperature is 180 degrees. So what we're going to do without ever putting this sauce on a burner or on a fire, I'm going to heat it to the pasteurization temperature, strictly using friction. I'm then going to immediately pour it in the bottles for our hot fill, because 180 degrees is also our hot fill temperature. And put the caps on it. When it cools down, it'll draw a vacuum in that bottle, and it's going to be a perfectly safe bottle with an extremely long shelf life. So, here we go. (189 degrees). That is perfect. Now what we're going to do, we're going to pour some of this sauce in this mixing container and start hot bottling. Now you also noticed that I flipped that bottle over when I put it back into carton. That is actually a part of the FDA hot fill and hold process. You flip it over so that this hot sauce will get on the neck and the top of the cap, and it will also be sanitized with this hot fill and hold. We got exactly a dozen bottles of sauce out of that, which is the way to do it. There's no better way to make safe food than making it with fermentation. There's no better attribute for safe food to have than low pH. This is going to be absolutely wonderful. I want to thank you folks for joining me today in the kitchen. I'm glad I spent my time with you today, and I will see you next time. Thank you.